All right, today we're going to be talking about Amnesia the Bunker, a game that I did not play. I didn't really know what to expect coming into it. I heard that it was kind of like a claustrophobic, tight game with some RNG elements in it. I didn't play the other Amnesias, so I don't know what they were like. I heard really good things about them and that they were spooky, but I just never got around to playing them. But I was able to get my hands on this, and I was fairly surprised with how polished it was. It did crash on me a couple times when I was playing on the PS5 version, but as far as I understand, it was like the PS4 version that I played on my PS5. So I don't think it was actually designed for the PS5. It was just where I could play it on my PS5 if I remember correctly. I'm like 95% sure that's right. And it crashed during like when you go into a new section, the loading they would load in like the textures and stuff, and it crashed a couple times. So but other than that, it wasn't really uh an issue for me. Maybe I played it. I didn't play it right at release. I played it like a week after release, 2 weeks after release, I believe. So maybe by then they already kind of cleaned up some of those issues, patched it. I'm not quite sure. But Amnesia essentially is a first person survival game where you're going through a bunker. Haha, the funny title, the bunker. You're actually going through a bunker and you're trying to escape. I don't want to talk too much about what's going on because I don't want to spoil it per se, but I'm sure you all know that there is we'll just call it a monster that is pursuing you or stalking you at times, and your goal is to, again, escape while avoiding it. And you cannot um similar games like this, you can't actually like kill it, or maybe you can. No, you have to like avoid it or stun it, basically. Whether you're shooting it, using traps, even blocking it. You can block it using some barrels or boxes. You can kind of make it tough for it to get to you, the path to you. And in order to avoid it, the primary thing is, which I believe you'll see here on this video, is I go back and refuel maybe, and you need to be careful with your fuel if you're playing on a harder difficulty because the generator burns through it quicker. And also there is less loot. The loot's randomized, which is cool, except for some things are static. I don't want to say what those things are because it would possibly spoil your playthrough. But pretty much everything is random. Even the locks that you have are random. So that's a nice touch. So if you want to go through and play it again, because this game is not very long, if you try to just truck through it, you can probably, and you're successful and you're smart, you could probably get through the game on your first try within a couple hours. I think I beat it on my first try, 3.5, 4 hours, but I was taking it low and slow. I was looting as much as possible. I was fairly immersed in the game. I really enjoyed the item management, and there's not much crafting, but there is a little bit of crafting. And if you're playing on a harder difficulty, you have less item slots you start out with. So you have to be kind of careful with how many items you're carrying, because if you get in a situation to where you're a little far away from the hub, you can't get to your storage box, you might not have a heal or a grenade or even, even fuel. So, Amity to the Bunker, some pros about it that I haven't already mentioned: the visuals. The visuals are nice. The sound is great in the game. The sound is great. I did feel fairly scared in this game, which is kind of a good thing because the last few games I played before this, actually, I played this one before a couple of the other games, but you're probably seeing this review after the other ones. I wasn't so scared of them, like Layers of Fear, for instance, or Shame Legacy. But this game actually scared me. There was a lot of tension. There was a lot of, am I going to get caught? Because you don't want to, burn through your resources, because if you do, then you can't use them later. And there may be a situation if you're playing it blind and you're in a new area, there's a situation where you're like feel a little like uncomfortable or uneasy, similar to how you would feel in a game like DayZ, where you're out in the say the wilderness, and you don't know where you're going and you're not using a map, you're just kind of aimlessly wandering around. and you just have this sense of uncomfortableness. So, which I enjoy. So I really like that about the game. Uh, I think if there was a little few more areas to explore, it might have felt a little too long. I guess it felt just right. The game felt just right in length, and like the gunplay that you have, a little bit of gunplay was responsive. The items like the grenades, you can get grenades, was responsive. But the whole idea of the game really is just to use the tools and the environment to your to your whim. Like you want to be creative, you want to try to find your own ways to navigate the bunker because again, it is random. The map itself does have traps, and those traps are randomly placed. The rooms themselves are the same. There are some environmental elements that are random. Not going to spoil what those are, but for the most part, you kind of have to be smart with what you're doing. So it is fun to toy around with some of the tools. And again, you have to be really careful because of the traps, and they can alert the monster, and but they can be used to your benefit too if you know what you're doing. So overall, I really enjoyed this game. I had a solid experience with very scary, like tense tense like my I actually got terrified a couple times. I didn't see the monster like in my playthrough. I was kind of being a baby. I purposely kept the generator full. I avoided like any situation because I didn't see him for a while. And when I seen him, it's fairly creepy, but it's more of the element of I can die if you're not careful. Like you don't want to die like far away. Now, once you get used to the map and everything, it might not be as scary. I did play through this twice, and it wasn't as scary like towards the mid part of the game because I knew what I was doing. I was just trying to get through the bunker, just seeing how fast I could do it. But either way, the game itself I feel like is pretty worth it. And if I had to give this a score, which I'm going to now, I'd have to give it an 8. I think the only thing I really wish that was a little different was I wish it was a little bit more, even though it was fairly polished. The performance it did struggle a little bit when it loaded into areas, and it with it crashing, it was kind of annoying. I also wish there was a little bit more item crafting and loot because there's not a ton of types of items you can pick up, although there are, and it's fun to loot the containers and everything. Um, I will kind of wish I could toy around a little bit more, but that's kind of my only main complaints. Like, really, it's a pretty solid game, and if you like playing survival games where it's not really there's not really a crazy story here. It's kind of like it's you know up to you to the narrative is simple. It's simple. You do find like notes that in journals that tell you kind of what's going on or what happened, which is typical of these type of games. But there's not like some crazy amount. There's not really any NPCs you're going to run into. Like there's only a couple. I don't want to spoil too much. And essentially, it's just kind of like you navigating the bunker, trying to get out and discovering what happened. So if you like those type of games, you will like this for sure. I would say I do recommend it. And in the end, I think I put about 12 to 15 hours total in this game. Um, so I feel like it's definitely worth your time and money. So that's pretty much it for Amnesia. An 8 out of 10. Not bad.